Hey guys, it's Ella. So I wanted to give you a little update, because I promised one video a week. So, um, I've been really torn because it's a hard thing to talk about and to realize and to deal with. Putting a name on what was happening helped, but then it also kind of got scary because you start to think about like all kinds of things. And then I had a moment this week, actually yesterday, that was, it made me cry. So part of the reason that this all kind of went crazy was because my parents were in some financial trouble, and it's hard for me because when I was in dire straits, I went to my parents for emotional support. I learned a long time ago that it had been said to me a lot of times, once you're 18, we don't need to worry about you anymore, really. Not worry, but like, that's it. Our job as parents is pretty much done. And when I had my son, like, that was made really clear. And I'll get into that story another time. But anyway, so when I was going through that trouble, my mother said to me, instead of addressing the fact that I was just scared and in a bad place, that wasn't my fault. I had gotten laid off and I was losing a house, and it was scary. And I didn't know what to do emotionally. Financial stuff, I was prepared to just figure it out on my own, and just like I always have. And but I was at the risk of being homeless, and luckily my ex-husband let me stay on his couch for 9 months until I was able to find a new job. And I was in an abusive relationship for a while during that time, and I got out of that. And when I say abusive, it was emotional abusive. The guy never hit me, but he was a narcissist and he was emotionally abusive. And so it was a dark time. And when I went to my parents when I was at rock bottom, I was just letting them know it was happening. And the first words out of my mother's mouth were, well, we can't help you financially, and you can't stay here. You and your son can't stay here. You'll figure it out, but our therapist says we have to let you fall, and so you can learn to be a grown-up, kind of thing. And it's like, at that point, my son was 12. I knew how to be a grown-up, but that's part of it, is my mom not, treating me like I knew what I was doing, always treating me like she knew more than I did, and I'm incapable of anything on my own, and all the mistakes I make, she knew why I made them, and had all of the answers, and I can't come up with the decisions and answers on my own. And well, I think when I was younger, part of that was true, because that's how you navigate adulthood. When you have a baby, you get pregnant at 18, you have a baby at 19, and you get married and divorced, and you put yourself through school, and you create a life on your own. You know how to be an adult. So anyway, I think they were content or okay with their only kid not having a place to live, potentially. And I had not even called them to live with them because I didn't want to do that. Like, that would be last resort, but it wouldn't be, because it's not an option. Not even for a week. You know what I mean? So when I had called to let them know what was going on and that I was scared, that was her first thing, and her basically telling me that they weren't going to be there. And I figured it out on my own, and I am fine now, and knock on wood. But when they came to me with financial problems, it was very difficult because inside I'm hearing those words, and now they're expecting me to turn around and help. And as their only child, and I love my parents, so of course I don't want to turn my back. When I had a medical thing, and so that was medical bills, and she didn't even call to tell me that anything had happened until almost a week after it happened. It was really weird. I have a voicemail where she very quickly asks me how my son is doing. He had an MRI because he was having some dizzy spells, and they just wanted to be safe. But it was very scary. I mean, I knew that he was okay, but when you hear, well, we just want to check for an aneurysm or a tumor, we're going to get an MRI, that's very scary as a parent. And so her first 15 seconds of the call, where I want to check on, see how that went, and then for the next 2 minutes, this whole thing about her health scare a week after it happened, and I didn't want you to hear this from anybody else, and I'm fine, and everything's fine, and don't be worried about me, just. So of course I called her, and a few weeks later the medical bills came in, and she was very upset, and she's like, I don't know how we're going to do this, and blah, blah. And I said, look, if worse comes to worse, I'll do one of those online fundraising campaigns. We'll figure it out. And then a couple weeks ago, she messaged me about something else, which led into her wanting me to set up this account for her, because there was all of this. It's a long story, but basically the bottom line is she was telling me all of these bills, and she was going to pawn her engagement ring and all of this other stuff if they couldn't raise the money. So I set up the account, and my friends were donating, and I felt weird about it because, again, there's this part of me that felt very like, where was this when I needed help? Where was even the emotional support? And it's a weird, it's a story all on its own, I guess, but a lot of the martyr stuff came, and the victim stuff, and so a couple days after that I get an email that the funds need to be withdrawn immediately because they need the money now, and there was only $125 in there, and this whole back and forth. So I finally set that up, and the funds went in, and they got them, and all of a sudden they're going to be fine at the end of the week. And so I felt very cheated, and I felt very manipulated, and I felt very used. I haven't really spoken to her since. I forwarded her the deposit email that they're going to be putting money in her account. So flash forward to last night, where she posts on Facebook this whole thing to her friends about how supportive they've been through this hard time, and she mentions my name in it, and she thanks everybody who's donated, and she just keeps going on and on about her friends. And then she goes, I have just an amazing bunch of friends, parentheses, and my daughter, other parentheses, and a picture about friendship. And I just felt like, and I know I was overreacting, but it felt so weird to be put in parentheses like that. All of my friends, and daughter. And I know why she did it. I don't think she was being malicious. I think what she was doing was posting so that her family could see that her friends took care of her and her own family didn't. And she didn't want to call me family, because then she couldn't have the story that her family didn't help her, which I know sounds weird, but I know her, and it wasn't about the people in her life. It was specifically about her friends. It just felt very weird. And then 6 hours later, in a comment, she mentioned me helping and how grateful she was for that. I didn't care about that. I don't care about being cited for helping. It just felt very like cold. You know what I mean? And so I read that and I got very upset, and I don't know. It's very hard to feel like they really don't want anything to do with me unless they need me for something. And now it's kind of expected that because I'm their daughter, I'm going to be there. She posts a lot of things like call your mother and take care of your parents when they were old. They took care of you when you were young. And it's very hard to deal with because I know deep down inside we take care of the people around us. But I also kind of feel like I need to deal with all of this other stuff so that I can be in a place where I feel comfortable doing that and not manipulated into doing that. I need to make the choice, and I need her to understand. Just because she had a daughter does not guarantee that I'm her friend for the rest of her life. When you raise a child and tell them that your life was harder because you were like, their life was harder because you were around and they didn't get to accomplish anything because they chose to, they have you. And choose is a strong word because they wanted to have a kid, but they didn't expect it to happen so fast. So I was kind of a surprise. And then I was told, because my mom went through 24 hours of labor and a C-section, that after me they didn't want to experience that again. And that's a hard thing for a kid to hear. Like, I know it's not meant to be, but like when you're little and you hear that, I wanted a brother and sister or sister. Like, I wanted a sibling really badly as a kid. And to feel like I didn't have one because when the way I came into this world was so awful that my mom wouldn't do it again. I know as an adult that that's not really my problem, but as a kid, I don't know. So that's my check-in. That's what's been going on lately. I still haven't talked to them. My dad's birthday is tomorrow, so I have to call, and I want to talk to my dad, but I'm a little bit worried about the rest of it. It sucks. I don't think people understand really what it's like to not feel like you have parents when you have parents. I don't know. So, therapy tomorrow, talking this out, but that's my check-in for now. So I hope everyone is well. Please subscribe, and if you have any thoughts on this or similar experiences, please feel free to share. But yeah, all good things to you. I will talk to you guys soon.